trusted sources. You can always come here on Fox Weather, your Hurricane HQ. We're going to be tracking it out for the next 7 to 10 days here as this storm kind of makes its way up the coast of the United States. But if you see things that are kind of sparking fear, let's not go there yet. I mean, really, it's just going to be these rip currents. Now, like I said, the large waves, life-threatening rip currents, and that's going to come along the East Coast as early as Monday and going to last throughout the latter part of this next work week. So here's kind of the ensembles, all these different models as to where this center of low pressure is going to go for Hurricane Lee. Now you see the models in very good agreement that it's going to continue to move west-northwest as it kind of makes its way past the greater and lesser Antilles here. And then you've got a wider variety in terms of where the storm's going to go. But overall, the model consensus here is showing it remains well off of the coast. So again, the direct landfall impacts do not stress out here. Although it's unclear because it's a few days out, right now the model tracking here is showing remaining more of that fish storm into the Atlantic Ocean, with the rip currents being the biggest factor. But again, keep your eyes peeled, and this is showing by Sunday, September 17th as to where this low could end up. So again, that's over a week away. So we've got some time here to really nail down this forecast, especially as the hurricane hunters get real-time data, and the National Hurricane Center also kind of looks at this storm even more. So let's not freak out before we have to here, and more than likely it's not going to be bringing hardly any impacts. Now, this is for next week. Areas such as Cape Cod and through Boston and portions of Connecticut and up through Maine and Atlantic Canada, we're in this kind of monitor zone. Like I said, we want to be aware of the forecast, kind of know what's going on. Again, stick with us here. We will keep you updated thoroughly throughout the next few days. However, the all clear zone is for large portions of the mid-Atlantic and the southeastern portions of the United States and that coast. So if you're on the Outer Banks region of North Carolina, stretching through the Delmarva, and on the eastern coastline there on the Atlantic coast of Florida, you're all clear. No worries there, but maybe stay out of the water, like I said, because the waves are going to be quite high. So again, landfall not expected in this green area, and we can't rule out a landfall for the upper northeast, but overall that confidence is pretty low there. So we've got a few things going on as we approach the peak of Atlantic hurricane season, which is typically around September 10th, which is just tomorrow. So this is prime time for hurricanes here. We've got Hova, which is over in the eastern Pacific. No issues there. Heading off onto the west. No major impacts, just a little storm out there. And then we've got Lee, this monstrous hurricane, and it's been that way for so long. But thankfully, the landfall impacts minimal. Now, Margot is the other storm that we're watching, just following behind Lee's tail there. That is a tropical storm. Now, Margot is going to be a fish storm. We see right now 45-mile-per-hour winds, so that's tropical storm force here, moving northwest at 9 miles per hour, and the pressure is 1,004 millibars, and this is of the 5 p.m. Eastern Time advisory. Now, here's the track for Margot here. Now, notice we will see the winds and start to pick up 60 mile an hour by tomorrow evening, and then by Tuesday evening, 75 miles per hour. So that's hurricane force. So it is forecasted to become a hurricane category 1. But again, we see some little island chains, Cabo Verde, as well as kind of off the coast of Africa here. But notice where this storm is at. It's in the middle of the ocean. So there's no major impacts expected with Margot. Again, it's one of those that we can look on satellite and learn from, but in terms of watching out and making sure people are aware of this storm, that's not the issue here, which is great news for being in the peak of hurricane season. So we're in an El Nino, which typically means that the Atlantic hurricane season isn't as potent because we've got this wind shear that comes and that hurts the development of storms. However, it's been a water versus wind situation here, and the water's been winning. Not necessarily in terms of Lee, because the wind shear is playing a big factor in Lee, but overall the water has been so exceptionally warm, so we're ahead of schedule. Now, the 11th named storm, we got it on August 31st, and the average date is October 2nd. That's about a month away from where we're at right now. So we've been ahead of schedule for quite some time. We're currently on the 14th named storm. The average date for that is November 19th. That's right around Thanksgiving, and only about a week before Thanksgiving there. And we are already there. We hit it on September 7th. So we've got a lot of time left in this hurricane season. So we could be seeing some more storms kind of make its way into the Atlantic. So stick with us throughout the rest of hurricane season, as we will probably see some more storms kind of fire up in the Atlantic basin. Now, this is specifically for September with the tropical activity zones. Now, notice this is kind of the track that Lee took here, moved off the coast of Africa, past the Cabo Verde Islands, continue to move west-northwest throughout the Atlantic Ocean, and then it's going to start to take that northerly trek here. And that's that high zone. That's where we see these storms mainly reside in September, obviously in the Gulf as well, but we're not really tracking anything out in that case there. And then low to moderate kind of in terms of the tropical activity, the more north you go, which is to be expected. But overall, Lee is following the pattern for September. Now we have 58% of activity remaining for hurricane season. We will see that all the way through the month of November. So we're not even halfway there yet. We're almost there, but not quite. So we still got a long way to go. Lots more hurricane season to cover. Now let's look at Tropical Storm Hova. Again, not an issue here. 50-mile-per-hour winds, moving at 9 miles per hour, and the pressure is at 999 millibars. And you see that center of low pressure there as we get that circulation. But if you look at this forecast track, it's so cute. It's not doing much there. Sunday in the evening, 35 miles per hour, and then it continues to weaken as it moves towards the western portions of the Pacific Ocean into the cooler waters, less conducive environment, and overall not going to cause any issues there. But it is something to note that we do have some activity in the eastern Pacific. So all in all, the main focus here is Lee and these wave heights. So this is by Sunday morning. We see, especially on the islands of Puerto Rico, 6 to 9 feet waves, and a little bit farther out, 9 to 12 feet. Those are some pretty monstrous waves there. But also notice that as we get into Monday morning and Monday evening, we see these higher waves start to reach the coast, the east coast of the United States. Now, it starts off as around 1 to 3 feet, but as this storm keeps on approaching and moving west and making that northerly track, that's where we get the waves at 6 to 9 feet and upwards of 9 to 12 in a lot of places. So, and I mean, look at this here, Thursday PM. These wave heights are getting upwards, especially off the shore, of 15 to 18 feet. These are massive waves here. So if you have any boats offshore, not the time to hit the ocean. And if you're not an avid swimmer, definitely you want to keep your toes in the sand. Maybe kick back, read a book, enjoy that kind of weather. You don't want to be in the ocean here. So in terms of surviving a rip current, you want to make sure that you swim parallel to the beach. You don't want to fight it. You're going to get tired and then the water is going to win out. So if you do get caught in this rip current, you want to flow parallel, swim parallel to the shore. Be sure to stick with us here on Fox Weather as we continue to track out this hurricane season and the weather this upcoming week. Welcome back to Fox Weather. I'm meteorologist Haley Meyer. Now, we do have eyes on the tropics as Hurricane Lee traverses north of the Caribbean islands and Margot far behind it in the Atlantic. We also want to focus stateside as we do have a severe storm threat in a few portions of the country. The one that we really want to focus on is throughout the southern, southeastern portion of the United States, through the mid-Atlantic and even up into the Northeast. We do have a damaging wind threat and an isolated hail threat with this system, but the largest portion that's going to be affecting this large swath of the United States is the flash flood threat. Now, it's not going to be large portions of the eastern coast inundated with lots of flooding water, freshwater flooding. That's not the case here. But areas that are prone to flooding or ponding, things that and roads that you know when you drive through, oh, after a heavy storm, there's going to be a heavier pocket. This doesn't drain as well, or we're in kind of a drainage zone off of some hills. That's where you could see some of this flooding. So something to be aware of. Not great for weekend plans, but stretching all the way from Atlanta in the southeast up through Albany, just south of Albany, New York. So that's a likely tag for large portions. Then we still have that possible tag as well. Now, the flash flood threat is going to diminish throughout the next few days and traverse more towards the northeast portions of the United States and in through areas such as Michigan, with possible, as we do see some more of that rain. But overall, unfortunately, this weekend might be a bit of a washout. So this is a look at the exclusive Fox model that we've got. This is by tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time, and we see large sections of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast with heavy rainfall. So Scranton, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., potentially getting in on some of that thunderstorm action, Richmond, Virginia, and even portions of Manhattan getting in on some of that action. We already saw it yesterday. And early on this morning, we have some dark, heavy storm clouds in the Manhattan area right now, Albany, New York, and these storms are going to continue to kind of have this northerly trajectory, so kind of bringing in a lot of rainfall throughout the weekend. And this is by Saturday, 10 p.m., so this is later on this evening as well. Still a very similar story, heavy thunderstorms and rainfall. Now, that's not to say you might not get a couple hours where the rain subsides, you can finish up grilling or have a few hours outdoors to have some fun. But overall, you want to make sure you have an umbrella with you for when these storms do come through your area. You can pop that umbrella up real quick and you don't look all drenched for whatever you've got going on for your weekend plans. This is by Sunday, 2 p.m. So tomorrow, as folks are headed out after church or maybe going to Sunday brunch and enjoying the beautiful stuff that the Northeast has to offer, unfortunately, the rain once again going to play a factor here. So Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, and now the storms stretch even farther north into portions of Maine, Bangor, Maine, Burlington, Vermont as well, going to be getting in on this action as well. This is going to be bringing some isolated heavier wind gusts here, as well as isolated chances for hail. And we could also see quite a bit of dangerous lightning. So if you do see lightning in your area and you are outside, it's best to stay indoors. Stay away from the lightning. It is very, very dangerous, and it heats up to even hotter than the surface of the sun. That's how hot these lightning strikes are. So that's something to keep in mind here. Now, Sunday evening, a lot of the heavier storms now really isolated into portions of New York and into Vermont, and that's going to head even farther north as we get into early Monday morning, as the majority of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast now just seeing some light and scattered showers come through the area, with the heaviest of storms stretching from Boston and portions of Connecticut up through Maine and kind of that border between Maine and Canada. So that's kind of what we're looking at for the weekend. So can't say I have the best of news in terms of sunny skies for you, but we are going to get a reprieve from the heat that we've had the past couple days. So in terms of the rain forecast, around ½ an inch to an inch, as well as 2 inches, especially the farther north you go into the Northeast. Now, there are a couple pockets here of 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, but notice it's not large sections that are in this yellow color. It's very small and isolated, which means that where these storms really start to set up, that's where you could see the heavier sets of rainfall, around 2 to 3 inches. But overall, the story for the Northeast is around 1 to 2 for the weekend, and it's going to be spread out not only in the matter of a day, but throughout Sunday and even into early Monday. So I was talking about that flash flood threat and how it's going to linger in through Sunday and into Monday morning. So this is the flash flood threat here. We have some storms going throughout portions of Michigan, as well as areas like Illinois and into Chicago, Indiana, and Ohio, Toledo in that threat as well. And then we've also got those storms that we're moving through that are now going to be more towards the northern portion of the Northeast, stretching from Maine, Bangor, all the way down through New York. So that is going to be kind of a Debbie Downer on the weekend and starting off our work week. So for Philadelphia here, this is what you can expect for the next 3 days. Unfortunately, you see these lightning strikes. That means that the next few days are going to be filled with rain. But notice these temperatures. That's one silver lining for you guys. By Monday, we have a high of 83 degrees. And then by Tuesday, 85. So we are going to cool down. It's been pretty hot the past couple of days in the Northeast. So thankfully, this rain and this system that's going to come through is going to be bringing us more into this fall-like feel. So get ready for that. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. We've also got the rain farther down into the southeast, and that's going to be another issue for you. But again, the Northeast is where we're seeing the severe storm threat for this upcoming weekend. So that's something that we got to watch out for. But overall, not too bad, not too shabby. Now, I was talking about this heat relief here. Now, we see, especially in Pierre, South Dakota, 74. Although Kansas City and St. Louis are still kind of warm. Kansas City 85 by the high today. St. Louis 79, but we see this front here, kind of where you see those yellows and red. You can see this very defined front. It's going to continue to push farther down into the south and going to move into areas like Kansas City and St. Louis over the next coming days. And the temperatures are going to be falling. So this is great news. This heat has been no joke. We've been talking about it all summer throughout all portions of the United States. It's really stuck around and it's been quite a nuisance. So thankfully this cold front that's going to come through is going to be great. And we'll maybe even need to have a jacket, especially early on in the morning. This is by Monday, 71 in Des Moines, 67 in Milwaukee, 71 over in North Platte. And mind you guys, these are our highs. So it's right around average, a touch below average in a lot of cases as we head throughout the early part of this next upcoming work week. But overall too, I mean, it's feeling like fall. So it's time to break out the pumpkin spice lattes, Starbucks, Dunkin', they're all having them out for you. Maybe head on out to your local store and get all the fall stuff to decorate your house. I know that's what I've been doing, and I'm ready to sit outside and enjoy it. So I've been talking about these average temperatures. So this is Minneapolis. Minneapolis has been really warm the past couple of days, and we notice here the average is 76, and we're below average for the foreseeable next couple of days. So we've got 73 on Sunday for our high, 72, then we dip down and we sit 67 degrees for the high on Tuesday. Now we do see our temperatures start to rise, but come on, I'm not going to complain about warming temperatures right around average, maybe a couple degrees warmer. That's nothing. And we also